Episode 156 of Seddy Bimco, concluding the tour of the 50 Nifty United States with Vermont.
Big deal.
We create revenge sequels to movies that never had them. And today, for Vermont, Tim, the movie is...
Time Chasers.
Time Chasers. All right.
Famous. Time Chasers. I'm excited. 16 years after the world was changed by Star Wars, George.
Yep.
And we always start with an age-old question about revenge.
Yep, we always do.
Going with the popular subject today. Jesus.
Yep. Oh, Jesus.
Remember Jesus?
I remember, I'm aware of him.
To Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Did he ever get revenge
on
the deaf mute man he cured? Because once he could hear and talk, he just complained nonstop about how loud Jesus screamed while he was being nailed to the cross. Just wouldn't shut up, wouldn't stop complaining about it. Ironic, huh?
It's ironic that Jesus... People, a Jesus who is that petty makes a lot more sense given the state of today's Christianity.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
Seddy Bimco, Part 2, The Revenge. I am Tim Hamilton.
I'm George O'Connor.
Ooh, and we're here tonight.
Wrapping up
Episode.
A momentous... This has been a lot, Tim. We will never, ever...
Do
something like this again. Yeah, 50 states. We did a movie for each of the 50 states, although we kind of skipped Massachusetts because Tim did a terrible job choosing it. I'll go back and listen to that one. But
oh well.
Yeah, transparent man. You disappointment.
Next, we're going to do every country.
Right? Wow. By the time we finish, there'll be new countries and old ones gone. And what we do is we talk about these old movies, and then we make up revenge sequels for movies that never had them. And this movie is no exception to that. Well, I have a question, Tim. Do we have anybody who has agreed to step up and be our new feuding partner?
No.
Last week
I didn't look into it.
No, last week we accepted the defeat of our previous. We won't even name them because it's too sad now. It's just punching down at those sleepy guys.
They sent a wet piece of paper as an apology, and I still don't know why it was damp.
I think it's just because they're always moist. I think you know what? I think it was panic sweat. I think they were so scared when they sent that little white flag of defeat that they were like, I hope the big strong men in Seddy Bimco don't come after us, is what I imagine those two men who should not be named. And I use men with, you better believe there's a lot of hand quotes being waved about. Those two men.
Two men.
Maybe it was what?
Maybe it was the Shroud of Turin.
Maybe, yes, because that's often referred to as damp paper.
Well, they urinated on it and said,
wow,
we do this to this. Just think what we do to you.
I think that's...
And then they surrendered.
That seems more like the act of an aggressor. Yeah. I just think, Tim, that Catholicism did a number on you. And I think it's one of the reasons why you only have 5 references. And one of them being constant references to Catholicism.
Yeah. Tonight's stories are all messed up.
This is the lives we lead. And you know what? Let's talk about Vermont.
Okay.
All right. So here's my facts on Vermont. You ready, Tim?
Yes. The last facts we're going to hear of any state.
Last facts of any state, because I'll never, ever talk about facts ever again. The capital is Montpellier, and the entire state of Vermont has a population of only 648,493 people. So this is worth mentioning, and I cut this verbatim because it's kind of hard to rephrase. The state's capital of Montpellier is the least populous U.S. state capital. And also, it is the most populous city. No other U.S. state has a most populous city with fewer residents than Burlington. Oops, I read that wrong. So Burlington is its most populous city, but even Burlington is so small. It's the most populous city. It's only got 7 people.
Really?
No, I didn't look up.
Do they buy all those coats?
They buy it.
Burlington
Coat Factory. They're more than just coats, Tim. Yeah. Welcome our new sponsor, Men's Warehouse. Oh, I pivoted. So the capital, the motto of Vermont is the Green Mountain State, which of course, if you know anything about French, you know Vermont means Green Mountain. So not the best motto, kind of just a translation of the name. It is home to more than 100 Revolutionary era, 100 covered bridges, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's a lot.
They still exist. Yeah, right?
Are they in Madison County?
Where is Madison County?
Somewhere
I assume
up
that's
there.
Wisconsin. Yeah. It's also home for the Center for Cartoon Studies, which is
right.
it's a famous place. Founded by cartoonists, filled with cartoonists. It's like little towns, all cartoonists. I think Tim and I have both made speeches there, right?
I actually have never been there.
Oh, really?
Sorry. Nope.
Oh, I was
Whoops.
I was once a visiting author there giving a lecture, and while I was there, I got a text, and the text said, "Hey, your friend Tim Hamilton was a clue on Jeopardy." I said, "What was the question?" It says, "This man killed millions of people." No, I don't know. In addition to Center for Cartoons, it was the 14th state, so it was the first state after the 13 original colonies.
Ooh, lucky
and it
14.
joined. Yeah, it joined in 1791, but get this, it was the first state to abolish slavery before it was even a state. In 1777, it was still the Republic of Vermont, and they were like, fuck this stuff. And that's why, to this day, Vermont is known for its progressivism. It was one of the first states in the U.S. to recognize same-sex civil unions and marriage. It has the highest proportion of renewable electricity generation in the nation at 99.9%. Who's that 1.1% that's not renewing their electricity? Shoot it in the air. It's one of the least religious. It's one of the least religious states, but unfortunately, it's also one of the least racially and ethnically diverse states. It's white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dairy, forestry, and maple syrup are all important factors of their economy. In fact, 50% of the nation's maple syrup comes from Vermont.
Nice.
Yep.
That's where the Newhart show took place.
Which one?
Newhart from the 90s. Remember, he was... I saw the exterior. I have a picture of it. I drove by it.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you drive by or did you drive into it and scream, Maud forever?
What's that have to do with anything?
Is there a connection?
That show would be, this is my brother, Daryl, is it? And my other brother, Daryl.
My brother, I'm Larry. It's Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. My brother,
Yes.
Daryl, my other brother, Daryl.
I would have screamed that.
Old man references on your
90s,
episode of Seddy Bimco. It's old man. Tim, I want you right now. I know you're mathematically challenged. I want you to figure out how many years ago is the 90s now? This movie came out.
The 90s.
Actually, I've heard various different times this movie came out. It's like a 3-year spread. Let's say 91. No, let's say, let's say 91. How many years ago?
I think it was 96, wasn't it? 94?
This movie?
Yes.
So it was this movie was like, if you look at the
Filmed in
credits, like
90,
the script. We're getting ahead. Tim, talk about your weird laws.
Odd laws.
Odd laws.
They got some good ones in Vermont. Women must get permission from their husbands to wear false teeth.
I don't like that law. I wonder
I don't
why.
know. I don't know what those ladies are doing with their false teeth.
What happened? All right. Interesting. Yeah, what else?
I wonder what they're doing with their real teeth. You said this is maybe, I read these online. It's illegal to deny the existence of God. You said it's the least religious state. I guess you just say which God.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. It is now one of the least religious, but I'm sure back in the day it was full of Quakers and Shakers and
witches.
Bakers.
It was once illegal to tie a giraffe to a telephone pole. So
There's no way that's real. There's no way that's real. You're just making up stupid shit.
I read that online. Come on, remember?
The animal native to Africa.
Well, the circus was probably in town. Mm-hmm. Somebody tied it up there. He got excited. He knocked it down, and people couldn't make phone calls.
Here's why I think you're making a lie, Tim. Because for this to have been a law, it means this was an ongoing concern. Circus blows into town, and just once they happen to tie up a giraffe to the telephone pole and knocks it on making calls. That's understandably that's a problem. I don't see whether there needs to be a specific statute addressing the fact that unless there's a wildly huge giraffe population in Vermont that we don't know about.
Maybe one guy had a giraffe he bought from the circus, and he was that guy in town, he always tying his giraffe up to telephone poles.
Or maybe Tim Hamilton just makes up weird shit.
I found this
I'll
online.
let you be the judge.
It's our last one.
Let you be the judge. Last one. Yeah, I feel like the last one is where you're really going to just go nuts. You're just going to fuck up shit.
I read those.
All right. Anything else you want to add? Do you want to do your state flag and state seal? Or are you good?
I'm good because I forgot to look at them. last time.
They actually, I actually looked. I don't remember which it was, but it was actually pretty nice. But it had like weird color gradients. I'm like, that's made on the computer.
How did I forget that?
Because you're already half checked out because you know it's the last one. I wanted to mention, but Tim is just chugging what straight? Is that whiskey or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. He's
looks just like water, but it's whiskey.
It's clear whiskey. He's in a state of undress. It's just rough, everybody. So I always like to finish up with like a little bit of a kind of round robin of facts I always get. Yeah, first elevator. It's just so awesome that we did this one last, Tim, because you know what Vermont is the birthplace of?
The elevator button.
No, Elijah Otis, the guy who makes all the elevators.
Oh, yes, Otis.
He was born in Vermont.
On our elevator here in this building.
It's on every elevator. If you're ever in an elevator and it doesn't say Otis, get off that elevator because it's obviously made by some janky company. But the guy who created, but they know they're so proud of this fact. But then they note with sadness that the first elevator is actually in New York. They're like, he moved to New York. Oh, we're sad here in Vermont. The first streetcar in Vermont was the Winooski and Burlington Horse Railroad Company. That began in 1885, and then 2 years later, they kicked out the horses and went to electric. And then 2 years after that was the Great Legging, where the truck cars went out of control and cut off everyone's legs in Burlington. Luckily, because Burlington is the least populous, most populous city, that was only 4 people. But still, 8 legs.
4 less people to buy some coats.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, well, you can still wear the coats. But Burlington is more than just coats. So it's the pants. They said to get long coats. They didn't even need to get pants anymore. And the cryptid I chose to represent the great state of Vermont is Champ, the lake monster of Lake Champlain. Yeah, bordering on New York. I think did you live near Lake Champlain? Am I making that up?
No, I didn't live there. Finger Lake.
Didn't you live in Lake Champlain?
Yes.
You were actually often mistaken as Champ?
Yep.
And the first movie that was ever filmed in Vermont, Tim, was between 1991 and 1994, whatever year this came out, Time Chasers by David Giancola. How's that for a fucking segue? This is the first movie ever filmed in Vermont.
Oh,
At least that's the way they filmed it.
I was like thinking, wow, what would the old movie be?
It turns out.
The Death of Mark Twain.
Oh, man.
Just saying.
All right. So should I read a description of this movie?
Time Chasers. Yeah.
I grabbed this awesome synopsis off of IMDb. Nick creates a time machine out of an airplane and a Commodore 64 and shows it to his friends by taking them 50 years into the future. Nick sells the technology to GenCore, a high-tech firm run by J.K. Robertson, whose office is in the mezzanine of a shopping mall. Robertson, however, turns out to be evil and uses the time machine to plunder the future. With the lives of himself and his friends at stake, Nick needs to use his time machine to travel a week back in time and convince himself not to give the demo to Robertson.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That is okay.
I liked the bit about the office of the mezzanine of a shopping mall. That was pretty appropriate. Yeah.
I thought it was a restaurant. But we'll get there. It's hard to tell.
I think it was actually what I did. If the trivia is to be believed in IMDb, it was all filmed. All that stuff was filmed in a mall that the one of the producers or maybe the actor, his family had owned and was rehabilitating.
I think I read something like that too.
Yeah. I didn't read it close enough to really say.
There are no links in this movie or anyone to tell you about because I don't think they ever
That's
did
not true.
Oh, whoa, did I miss something?
Yeah, man. Giancola, the director, has a link, and several of his films have links. And not only that, the guy who plays J.K. Robertson, George Woodard, he has a link too.
He looked familiar, but...
He did, right? And I don't know. I should mention, this is a good point to mention, this movie is a movie I have probably seen, I would say, at least 3 or 4 times because it has been lampooned. It's been lampooned at Mystery Science Theater. Mm-hmm. It was maybe in the last season, and I remember taping it off the television and like watching this particular tape several times because I feel like the script of this movie is quite good. And especially as far as a time travel movie, I think it actually does a good job with ideas. But the fact that it has a budget of like a $6 hampers it.
You think the script is good?
I think for a time, so I think time travel movies are inherently hard to pull off.
They are,
and I feel like it gets wibbly wobbly with the time stuff. And I think this movie does a clever job with it. And I could see basically redoing this movie with like a big budget and like this being a pretty good film.
Yeah, the only really good time travel story I can think of is Star Trek IV, Voyage Home.
You're not going to say Back to the Future?
No, because
no?
I thought you'd laugh about Star Trek IV, that's all.
No. Tim, your idea of what's funny today is slipped.
Come on. I thought you'd be like, that stupid movie? That sticky movie?
Well, okay.
Whales?
Let me speak as a person who is not as stepped in Trekker lore as you. I remember watching that movie a few times as a kid and quite liking it. Now I understand now, if you're like a hardcore Trekker, you're like, that movie's silly. There's the scene where Scotty's talking into the mouse saying, hello, computer, and the whales travel through time, and then Spock gives the nerve pinch to the guy on this BART. All this stuff. It's like
that lady from Chucky jumps on with Kirk's lap and he gets beamed up and it wouldn't work that way.
I don't remember that, but is that true? Can you explain, Tim?
He's going to beam up and she jumps and hugs him and she gets beamed up too. That would not work. They lock on to a particular person. Doesn't matter if she jumps on him. She would not be beamed up like that.
I mean, you say she's lady from Chucky. Is she Jennifer Tilly? The bride of Chucky?
Whoever starred in Chucky 1 year later, she was in it. I don't know her name.
Was this the love interest of Kirk?
Yeah.
Wasn't she in 8 is Enough or one of the... Wasn't she in the show that the other Star Trek guy who was a serial child abuser? Wasn't she the wife? Yeah. Oh, wow. We are a good podcast.
Star Trek all around.
Now, I just want to establish one thing before we get into this. The movie opens up with like we see what is apparently, we could guess from the name Time Chasers, it is the main character who, as I mentioned, his name Nick, is traveling. He's returning from a trip through time in his airplane. But I have to just say, folks, this guy looks ridiculously, suspiciously like what I think my co-host Tim looked like in the 90s.
What?
This guy had a strong Tim Hamilton appearance, but with a bitchin' mullet. So I am going to refer to him as Tim throughout.
What? You're going to confuse me.
Yeah. No, nobody's going to be confused. So this is...
Yes, that's going to be very confusing.
1990s Tim returns to the present, which is 1991, in his airplane. He lands. He gives a mechanic, whose name is Marty. He gives him a silver... So he goes, here's one for your collection. He flips him a silver dollar. Marty holds it up. It says 2041. He goes, wow, 2041.
Whose face was on it? Did you see?
Yeah, Kennedy.
Okay. First question, wouldn't it be cheaper to make it out of a car? Planes are expensive. Well,
this is part of what I think is interesting about this movie. Like, for a movie that, like, the actual budget, I made a joke about $6. I read it was about $150,000. This movie has multiple aerial scenes.
Yeah.
It has a boat being chased by a plane. It has a car flipping over. It has a very silly bike scene, a bike chase scene.
And a plane crash.
A plane, yeah. I mean, it's a plane crash. It's a plane crash. There's a guy. Tim is riding on the outside of the plane. Jeez. Like this movie is very ambitious in what it does, and it's very impressive.
I was impressed at how much action they put in.
Yeah, I think I will say this in case David Giancola is listening. Like this movie, like I said, like you were hampered by the fact that this thing you'd had a very small budget, but like what you did with this thing is very, very impressive. And like I know this movie, like it actually has a very big fandom, especially for a Seddy Bimco film, because it's been done in Mystery Science Theater, and then they returned to it again and did as riff tracks. Like this is like Mystery Science Theater royalty. This movie. I
read that they had a live showing of it for Mystery Science, and they invited the cast and the people, and it said in Wikipedia that they were not amused by everybody's amusement.
Well, one guy wasn't.
The one guy at the mustache wasn't,
but then he got over it. I read the actual article too from the paper.
Matt
It's
in the
very
movie.
fun.
Matt, the
Was that his name? I just called him Leisure Suit the whole time. We'll get to him. All right. So let's get into the story. So after we see he flips the thing, it's like 2041. That's from the future. Then Tim rides on his bike. Tim rides his bike everywhere.
Nick.
How about we call him Time Tim. Time Tim rides on his bike. He goes.
That's easy.
You see him puttling through Rutland, Vermont. He goes to his house. Then he goes and he takes out an actual floppy disk, like a bona fide back when they used to be floppy. And within this floppy disk, he apparently contains all the secrets to time travel.
Yes.
And he looks at something on the computer for a second with it. Then he's watching TV, and an ad appears for GenCore. And the guy who, the second you see him, the actor George Woodard, who, like I said, you immediately look at this guy like, oh, he's going to be the bad guy. Mm-hmm. He appears on TV, and he's like, we champion innovators. And Time Tim is like, huh. So he picks up his rotary phone.
Yeah. Here's my first quibble with the script. I don't know. Nick Tim, as you call him.
Time Tim.
He seems not smart about normal things.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's
if there
pretty
was Shark
typical.
Tank today, would he go on there and be like, I've got time travel technology?
Well, I love it that Time Tim is a physics teacher who has created actual successul, like flying through. Also owns an airplane, so he's doing well for himself.
But not a car.
But no. Well, if you have an airplane, who needs a car? Plus, you're in delightful Vermont, and also he's very athletic. I will say that he's a very athletic guy. But like his idea is like he sees this ad saying "We champion innovators." He's like, huh. So he calls them up, and he asks to speak to their head of discovery. And he's like, I have discovered a new super fuel efficient airplane thing. Because he's smart enough to not say I invented a time machine. Because who's going to believe him? Then he calls up the local paper and he's like, my 75-year-old grandma is going to try skydiving.
Like,
and he's like, because also, again, he knows he goes, this newspaper in this whatever shitty town this is, they're too starved for, they're not going to send somebody up for time travel. But old lady jumping naked out of an airplane. And he's like, I didn't say she's going to be naked. Yeah. They're like, we're adding that for prurient interest. Right. So old lady jumping naked out of an airplane. So then it's the next day, and this 80s tastic looking babe shows up to cover the story. Her name is Lisa. Turns out they went to school together, and they hug, and he's like, he's like, what?
Oh, yeah. We haven't seen you. I haven't met since the school reunion. You were going to say what I was going to say, and I just talked right over you.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. Well, I thought you maybe had like a list or something.
Oh, no.
Then this motherfucker shows up in like a powder pink leisure suit. I'm like, were people really dressing like that in 1990?
I didn't. Never me.
No one I know. And he has like he kind of looks like Tom Savini, like a little tiny Tom Savini. He's got a mustache, yeah. And he's from the GenCore company. And he's like, I can't wait to see this fuel efficient airplane. And he gets them both up in the airplane, but it's a trick.
Yep.
And they're like, well, you better let us down, Tim Hamilton. And he's like, nah, because I'm going to show you something. Now, really, this is actually a problem I do have, like an honest to God real problem with the script. When he first appears at the beginning, he sees Marty and he flips the coin from 2041. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, that establishes nicely it's from the future. He randomly asks Lisa, choose any date, any time to go to. She's like, how about 50 years in the future? I'm like, oh, you just happened to choose the exact time that this guy already went to a coin? So she chooses 50 years in the future, which remember, everybody, this is 2041. So
you could have time traveled.
This was 1991.
To influence her decision. So we don't know.
What do you think? That could have happened.
Whispered in her ear at night.
He kept going back and forth. He's like, because for all we know, he can only go to like one place in time, maybe two. But I have my thoughts about this.
All right.
So they land. They go to 2041. We see on this computer printout a very cheap image of a future city. Mm-hmm. And but when we get up close to the city, man, I'm sorry, Tim, this is a suburb at best.
They go to a mall. And they're like, oh my God.
It's definitely a mall. Yeah.
People are dressed a little funny. There's a kid on a cell phone,
which...
Oh, is there a kid on a cell phone?
There weren't cell phones. Yeah, because he's talking about polymers on the phone. Like, we follow him. He goes, yeah, Jimmy, I got to get the polymers later. He's this little kid jogging. But I'm like, way to go to guess cell phones.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
We see a hologram of a priest guy. He's from the Church of the Holy Hologram.
Did you see the Lisa Kudrow lookalike behind him? Do you know this whole story?
No, I didn't, actually. No,
they thought she was in this for years. They put her name on it, but it's
wait, what?
In the background there, if
Oh my
missed
God,
it.
I love this.
But
Tell us this so we could.
It's for years I thought it was her in the background, but
she has a twin on.
Not in real
life.
life.
Oh my God,
George.
That does look like Lisa Kudrow.
Yep. But it wasn't her.
Wow.
They fixed that.
But she's in the TV show Time Bandits. So is it possible that Lisa Kudrow traveled through time to appear in Time Chasers?
Is this conspiracy?
You're going to give me a hard time. You can't even pronounce footage. All right.
That's how it's said. So they go to a kiosk and have coffee. Right?
Yeah. Which I'm like, how the heck did they pay for that? First off.
Oh, yeah. He steals money.
Or, I mean, you got to figure the inflation is pretty brutal. Like, whatever a coffee costs in 1990, what's going to cost in 2041? I hope they didn't order eggs. Am I right, Tim?
Right.
Eggs are expensive right now, everybody.
Yeah, and the coffee tastes funny in the
future.
And
if you're listening in the future, eggs come from an extinct animal called a chicken. We used to eat these.
And a turtle.
Before everything went to shit. Yeah. Tim.
What?
Do you eat turtle eggs?
No. Pirates
There's a lot
do.
of animals that make eggs, Tim.
Do, though.
Yeah. I'm glad you're offering this very useful information.
But the coffee tastes funny because
I love the way your brain works. You're just like, no, but pirates do. I'm like, oh yes, Tim. What else do pirates do? They say R.
Yes.
They pillage. Yeah, did I mention that? They have boats. Some of them have hooks for hands. Some of them have pegs for feet. This is a good podcast.
I was just going to add to your egg problem. The coffee tastes funny in the future.
Yeah.
Because they use human milk in the coffee. The cows are all dead due to mad cow disease. They caught it after eating RFK Jr.'s brain. There you go. There's my long. So there's the workouts. Why wouldn't we though? Why do we drink another animal's milk? You think about it.
Have you ever drank human milk?
To. No. Oh yeah, when you're born, right?
I was raised as a formula baby.
Okay.
But my aunt, who is an interesting lady, she had breast pumped milk and was trying to get us all to drink it when we were like adults. We're like, get away from us. That's disgusting.
Interesting lady. Yes.
I got very mad. I'm like, stop.
Did you slap it out of her hands and it flew out of the place? It flew out of everybody's face into their lips.
Tim, I made her drink it and created an Ouroboros. Oh, no. Where it was a time loop, and she was always drinking milk, and she's been caught in a time loop of just constantly drinking her own milk forever.
Wow.
So at this point, Tim explains time travel, basically. Time Tim. And he basically calls Lisa a spoon. He's like, you're a spoon. And I'm not getting into it.
It made no sense. He stirred the molecules.
Doesn't. Well, I mean... Yeah, it's like the molecules happen, stir it with a spoon, and then you put in some milk, and the milk's human milk, and you put in some sugar, and it's human sugar, and the guy with the mustache is like, what's human sugar? And then he winks at the camera, and he does a line of Coke. I do want to mention...
Like a guy that would do that. Yeah?
He does. He always had like white powder in his mustache. He says the stupidest thing I've ever seen at this point. So they come back to the present, and the 91. And the guy with the mustache, what's his real name?
Matt in the movie.
Matt. Yeah, but I'm going to call him Leisure Suit. Leisure Suit's like, this is amazing. If you went 100 years in the past and put $100 into savings account, they just alone would make you a millionaire.
I know.
Now, Tim, you and I are not mathematical or financial wizards, but that seemed very suspicious to me.
It does seem suspicious.
So I did a little research. Can we roll the music for George's currency kerner?
George's currency.
Okay. So I used as a base interest rate for a savings account, I used a 5%. That's a pretty standard account, right?
Okay.
And this is assuming that there's no fluctuations up or down, and there's not anything like, let's say the Great Depression or other things that wiped it out. If there was just a steady earning of 5, how much do you think $100 deposit 100 years ago would get you now? Keeping in mind that Leisure Suit Larry said it was going to be $1 million.
It might only be 10,000, 20,000?
5% a year, and that every year that's compounded.
Okay.
It's not even Tim. It's $6,000.
Oh wow, $6,000.
Yeah. Now, and I was ready to just be like, this is so silly. But then I'm like, but wait, Tim, this movie was in 1991.
Okay.
Tim, do you want to guess what the spending power of $6,000 in 1991 is today in the year of our Lord 2020?
The spending
are we
power.
2025? Yeah, because that's how this works, Tim.
That you, I don't know. You're blowing my mind.
$1 million.
What?
Whoa.
You making that up?
He was. Probably. I don't think inflation was from 1991. Well within both of our living memories. I don't think that it's up to $1 million now. But it's it's a good joke.
It's the only idea that guy had.
So,
poor man.
Yeah. Well, no, his other idea is he's going to tell his boss. He's like, I'm going to tell my boss. His boss shows up, the evil guy from the TV. He immediately buys the invention, offers Lisa a job, but she's like, no, I don't want to work for that corporation. And this guy is so clearly evil, and Time Tim is so clearly a moron.
Time Tim, who's called Nick. I guess he's never read science fiction novel. He's never seen an episode of Star Trek. He's like, sure.
He doesn't.
Use my time travel.
He's never read a newspaper. You don't sign over your crazy technology to a corporation guy. He's an idiot.
By the way, we now have planes, trains, and automobiles that travel in time, thanks to movies. So we have the plane in this movie. We have trains and automobiles in Back to the Future movies.
That's true. We also have hot tubs.
And the hot tub.
Yep. And we have the Avengers. When they shrunk really little, they travel through time. What else, Tim? What else travels through time? Yeah. What else?
Tachyons. They kind of go backwards in time.
King the Conqueror, he travels through time. Yeah, but he became problematic.
He did.
All right. Yep. Oh, Wolverine. His consciousness is projected through time in the Days of Future Past movies.
Oh, yeah.
We know more about the comics where it's Kitty Pryde. Am I right, Tim?
Yeah.
Kitty Pryde. Yeah. Fuck Wolverine. I'm sick of that guy. All right. So then we go to the paper, and Lisa has taken photos of Time Tim with his airplane, and her editor's like,
yeah.
I
just want to say, did we miss the part where because he already sold his machine, Nick and Lisa go to the 1957? Did they do that already?
Yeah, I was getting up to that.
Oh, I thought they did. They couldn't after they sold it.
No. First, we have the scene where she's like, Lisa's at the reporter, and she's showing her editor, and there's like, so this plane, there's this average-looking guy, this fucking Tim Hamilton with a mullet-looking motherfucker sitting in front of a plane. This goes through time, and she's like, yes. She goes, I don't believe you. And she goes, bring me photos from the future. I may believe this. And Lisa's like, say. It's a week later. Time Tim hops on his bike. Well, first he checks his files. I don't understand that scene. All his files on his one floppy disk. He hops on his bike. He goes to the grocery, has a disconcerting interaction with his neighbor, who's like maybe hitting on him. She's like an older woman.
I didn't know who she was supposed to be. I thought it was his grandmother. No. Then I realized, his grandmother's dead.
Yeah, no, and it's like his grandmother's friend maybe. And she's like, you gotta eat. But then Tim, when he sees Lisa, and he goes over to the supermarket, and is like, hey, she's like, did you ever sell that? He's like, yeah. She goes, well, you're stupid, but I like you. Let's go out. And he's like, you want to go for dinner? She goes, what do you want to make? He goes, actually, I have a better idea. And she drives him because he doesn't know how to drive in a car, and he can't put her on his stupid bike. And they go to the airport, and he hops in the plane, and they go to the 1950s.
They love it.
And they go to a diner. Yeah, they love it. They're like, this is great. I love all the casual racism. There's a scene where there's just some people who are not white, and they're not be given their full civil rights. He's like, yeah, 50s rule.
They drink out of a fountain only for white people. It's great.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, there's a bit when there's a prom happening, and he goes on stage and he plays Johnny Be Good, and the guy's about to call Chuck Berry, and he slaps out of his hand. He goes, "No, you call Elvis Presley." So white men invent this music.
Right.
It's rough. Yeah,
that is rough.
Yeah. Yep. And then so after they go to the 50s, then they're like, let's go back to the future again, because it was so fun to go and hear people talking about polymers and see the stuff and the things. But Tim, they go there. What does this future look like now?
Now it looks like an
abandoned industrial park.
I was looking for a joke.
You got nothing. Tim. So what happens I throw to you?
Looks like
the city's ruined. We see Mr. What? Yeah. Mr. T?
No. It's ruins.
Looks like a man with like a not dreadlocks, a mohawk, and he's got a chains. Strong. I will say it's kind of ruins. It looks it honestly looks like a suburban
warehouse area,
like industrial park. Yeah. And they're like, what happened in the future? And they're at least like, it's been changed. There's been wars, many wars. And they're walking through this because then like this skinny, dirty guy who looks kind of like Michael Biehn from Terminator comes out the shotgun, and he's like, give me your money. And Time Tim grabs the shotgun and beats him up and takes it. But then all these other dudes are pointing guns at him.
Yep.
And they take him to a guy I call Man Perm.
Right.
He rules the quadrant. And they're like, Man Perm's like, you must be from the 90s. And that's because Time Tim has got a mullet. But also it's interesting because they just straight up know people could travel through time here.
He had a hacky sack.
And he had a hacky sack in his... What else, Tim? What else?
That's it. What else?
I thought you had a list.
He had a Fish album.
He had his T-shirt tucked into his pants, and he had no belt. I felt that was pretty 90s.
Yep, that's pretty 90s.
So they want his transport, and as they're taking him to transport, a rival gang shows up, and they have a gunfight. Mm-hmm. And so Time Tim and Lisa run through an empty building. They have action, and this I looked down writing something, and suddenly there's this old guy who I guess saved them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. And he also knows they're travelers. It's like, where's your transport? They're like, it got ruined. He's like, too bad. And he gives them an info dump. He says, who needs to control the media when you control history?
Yep.
And basically we learned that after time machines are invented, they plundered like pirates, Tim.
They just went back trying to change wars and stuff, they said.
Yeah, they killed, they won wars we lost. They killed people before they were born. They did all this stuff and they kept going and they kept stealing from the future and everything's bad. And they went back, they ate all the turtle eggs,
They took them from
just
the
like
pirates. No, they took them from the pirates.
Yep. Yeah, and they got rid of pirates. And then the baseball team in Pittsburgh, they were called the Pittsburgh Turtle Eaters because they couldn't call themselves pirates because pirates didn't exist anymore. They didn't know what to do.
It's terrible.
It was awful.
I have a couple wars they went back and interfered with, George.
Oh, good. This is a list. All right, let's hear.
They went back and interfered on the war on Christmas. It turned out Hanukkah won.
Oh,
yep. They went back and interfered with the war between Coke and Pepsi, and Dr. Pepper won.
Dr. Pepper rise up from the ashes. All right, what else?
Interfered with the war between bedknobs and broomsticks, and Mary Poppins won.
Weird. Okay, yeah.
And the war between
of all the things in the world,
the nerds and the jocks. And the homeschool kids won, but they also lost because they were homeschooled.
Yep, because homeschooled. So then they all died from all the diseases they weren't vaccinated against.
True. So time travel ruined everything.
So they realize that what they need to do, they're like, oh my God. So the evil guy must have gone back and done stuff. We need to go back in time and convince me never to show it to him. And they run off. And then we're left with the guy who had saved them, the old guy. And he goes, everyone wants to change history. I'd start by finding the guy who created time travel and cut his throat. Now, Tim, here's my list.
Oh.
Are you ready?
I don't even know what this list is.
Now, I know you couldn't tell because it's about you, Tim.
Oh, no.
Because as we know, I have dubbed the character in this movie because of his Tim-like appearance, Time Tim. This is the Thing's actual Tim, my co-host on his fine podcast, Seddy Bimco. This is what I think you would do with an actual time machine, Tim.
Oh.
The actual you.
Interesting.
Yeah. Number 1, go back and prevent Pete Best from being fired from the Beatles.
No, why would I do that?
Because you love Pete Best.
Okay.
Number 2, go back and invent pet rocks.
Yeah, I would. I'd be a millionaire today if I put the money in the bank I made on the pet rocks.
You take that $100, go back 100 years, put it back. Number 3, you'd go back to the 90s and get yourself a bitchin' mullet.
Yeah.
Just like this guy, Tim. Yeah. Number 4, you'd find the last dodo bird, strangle it, and eat its gamey flesh.
Why? I don't know if they taste good. Tastes just like chicken, probably.
You want to know what it tastes like, Tim?
Yeah, I would.
Tim, you in your drunken moments, Tim, which normally happens 5 minutes after we finish recording an episode, you're like, I'm just so sorry. There's so many animals I'll never get to eat.
I do.
I want to eat a thylacine. I want to eat a dodo bird. I want to eat a triceratops. It just goes on and on.
That's not me. That's those graphic explorers in the National Geographic Club. You know they did that, right?
They did what?
They
ate mammoth.
Yes, that they found frozen.
Yeah. I would eat a mammoth.
So old. I just would think, who knows what parasites are in there?
I've eaten a hot dog.
Yeah. But the parasites.
Number 5.
Okay, go ahead.
Things actual Tim would do with an actual time machine. You'd get a monkey suit, go to Northern California in 1967, and fuck with Patterson and Gimlin.
Oh, yeah. That I do.
Yeah. Yeah, you would. Number 6, you would check out that play, Our American Cousin, at Ford's Theater on April 14th, 1865.
Sure.
That's a reference to the assassination of Lincoln, everybody. You would go back, number 7, Tim, you would go back to March 13th, 2024, and come up with the idea of doing odd laws for each episode, each state of Seddy Bimco in episode 101, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. No odd laws in that one.
No, there's not. That would have been a good one.
I went back and listened to so many old ones because of something's happening later in this episode.
Okay.
All right. Number 8. Tim would go back and watch Star Wars in theaters in 1977 and cool. Yell out to the packed house, Darth Vader is Luke's father. He'd do this like 20 times.
No one would believe me.
No one would believe you. But later they would be like, say,
who was
that strange man, that weird guy. He was dressed up as a monkey also for some reason. Number 9, Tim would go back to that dark day in Dallas in November 1963 and try to stop himself from killing JFK. Because I am assuming you're the real assassin.
I was there.
And the number 10 thing Tim would do, Tim with an actual time machine, go back and step on baby Trump's head until it's just a fine goo. So in the present version of Time Tim, they're back in the present. He calls the evil boss guy.
Don't they go to his place?
And he sends them a helicopter to pick him up. Right. We don't see the helicopter though, but they show up at his mezzanine in the strip mall, and he's like, well. Tim is like, I'm going to stop the agreement. He's like, no, you're not. Look at your shitty agreement you signed.
Section 15, Part A, Paragraph 3.
Yeah.
Section 2.
And it says Marvel work for hire at the top.
Yes.
And it's like, oh no, you own all my characters and me and my original art. This sucks.
And his office. They look, to me, we talked about it earlier, look like a restaurant. Like
it's
the front desk of a hotel, maybe.
Yeah, it had like kind of like wood. It almost had like when you see in old hotels where there was like little cubbies behind them for you to put keys in. It kind of had that look.
Mm-hmm.
He had like little shelves behind him. So because of this terrible agreement, then he's like, also turns out I work for the government now, and you're committing high treason.
Yep.
And because he's not Donald Trump, he actually has to pay the price for this. So these real fucking mall cops come out of nowhere and they arrest this guy and Lisa.
Yep, both of them. They run around the place for a while as they escape.
And Leisure Suit Guy, what's his name again, Tim? Matt shows up, and the boss is like, are you a team player? And Matt's like, this is my story arc. And he decides to stick with the boss.
They run around the building a bit. They escape.
Yeah. Time Tim is very athletic. This guy like runs around a lot. He's in very good shape. He's biking everywhere. But he and Lisa escape. They jump into a cab out front that just happened to be sitting there. Even though it's like rural fucking Vermont.
Yes.
And they're like,
the only
take
taxi
us
driver
north.
in Vermont.
Yeah. And he's from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, he's this real character. He's like, for New York, He goes, I'd like to point out that north is not a destination, just a general direction. And he's like, keep going. This guy was really worried for a second to become a main character. Because for a bit, he is one of the three main characters. I'm like, what happened here?
Why is he from New York and the only taxi driver in Vermont? He's got a story.
I mean, yeah. And I guess there's a line there that maybe this is all supposed to be happening in Boston until this point. Because he's like, I came from Boston. Everybody over there with the gabagool. They're always parking at Harvard Yard. But, like, I don't know. Guys, Tim just coughed and a loogie came out.
It did.
Disgusting. Yeah. So...
he joins their scheme. He's just a lucky plot point because he helps them.
He is, but like it's kind of like it's weird. Like she tells him, I guess, about she uses the same line that it's like a fuel efficient airplane. He's like, yeah, we got to do that, save the environment. Like, he sounds like he's very leftist, got good politics. But he's like, yeah, we can kiss those ragheads and then release goodbye. I'm like, ugh. But and it's the 90s. That's probably was considered liberal back then.
I guess so. No.
Yeah. So they go to the airport. No, you don't think so?
No.
I think it was. We forgot, Tim. Yeah, I think it was. So they go to the airport where Time Tim has this time airplane. It's under guard now by the government. And so the New York cabbie guy is pretending to be looking for Ben and Jerry's, Vermont's own.
Of course.
And
what's your favorite flavor, George?
Time Tim.
Ben and Jerry.
Oh
my God, you don't have one. Chunky Monkey right away is mine. That was
Chunky
mine.
Monkey's up there, but I also liked Chubby Hubby.
Okay.
I liked Lumpy Dumpy.
Never had that one. You making that up?
Lumpy Dump. Yeah, it's quote unquote chocolate flavored. The thing is, I don't care for ice cream that much. I'm really more of a frozen yogurt or gelato guy.
Well, yeah, I don't
like
eat it much anymore.
my frozen dessert. I eat like mango gelato. That's my thing.
You know, when they went to the future first and to the mall, they saw Ben and Jerry's. By the way, before the future got destroyed, they saw future Ben and Jerry's.
Did they?
Do you want to know what flavors they had in 2041?
Oh, is it list? They had Lumpy Dumpy.
Nope, they had gummy brainworm brittle.
RFK's own.
His picture's on it. Human breast milk malt marshmallow.
Donald Trump's own.
Wow. And
he's lactating, everybody.
Microplastic pecan pie.
The future is like our present.
Ben and Jerry's. Shout out to them.
So, yeah, I mean, it is pretty funny. So while this cabbie is fighting a bunch of armed soldiers, like trying to get Ben and Jerry's,
pretending to know karate.
Pretending to know karate, just being like, and seconds after the scene ended, Tim, I think, because he's attacking a government institution,
he was shot.
He's probably murdered. He's definitely killed. But Tim and Lisa sneak into the airport. They steal the plane. There's a whole bit where Lisa's pretending like she's in a plane that's crashing and stuff, but they steal the plane and they go back to the past. But then the bad guy is immediately there. What's his name? J.K. Rowling. Let's call him J.K. Rowling because bad people. His name is J.K. Yeah, fuck J.K. Rowling. So J.K. Rowling is there, and he's like, "We'll follow in our own plane because they made their own plane." He makes the mustache.
Made their own plane quick
in a week. Yeah, they made a whole plane, and they're flying back. And so Lisa and Tim are in the plane, and Tim is like, he's like, "But what if we don't meet in the future? The whole reason we met Lisa is because of this whole thing." Mm-hmm. And then Tim does this smooth move. He leans over and gives her a big old kiss.
Yep, not watching where he's going at all.
And they go, not at all. Like
all these birds hit the windshield. You know, he's kind of looking big goose.
Well, this scene's hilarious because like they go back in time and then immediately the bad guy's there at the same time too. Like he knew exactly when they'd be there. And with a handgun leaning out of his airplane, he fires, shoots them, kills Lisa. Yeah. Oof. And then is chasing Tim, who like flies down low over a reservoir, jumps out without a fucking parachute.
Nope.
The plane explodes and he lives.
Yep. Plane crash. That's what I said.
Plane crash. Yep. And
some concerned fishermen. To be a boat there, a fisherman.
Yeah. Concerned fishermen.
I missed something. He said, "Get out of here." Did he have a gun? He didn't have a gun.
He did. He was holding a gun.
Where'd he get a gun? I don't remember that.
I assume, that's a good question. I assume, was he, we left out because he's fighting like a guard for like an hour at the airport and doing very poorly. It's like it's almost like they're doing a spoof of the famous Indiana Jones fighting the German pilot scene.
Yep.
Because this guy is manhandling Tim. He's like beating him. So I bet you after Lisa knocks him out from behind, he grabbed a gun probably.
Was that what happened? I thought he backed up and backed into an overhead fan. His head got shut off. That's what I thought.
And he got a slight cut in the back of his head because it was just a
slight cut.
It was the down script. He's like, "Ow, I have to go get a Band-Aid." And then he put the Band-Aid in his hair, Tim, and then it got stuck in his hair. And then he's like, "I'm going home." Yeah, it was rough.
That was the end of him.
Yeah. So then there's this crazy scene in this movie that, again, costs $5 to make. There's a crazy scene where there is a plane chasing a boat.
Yeah. How'd they get that permit?
And yeah, that's actually a good question, Tim.
If they had one.
Yeah, well, maybe not. And, the evil boss is making the guy who looks like a little tiny Tom Savini shoot the gun at him. And he's like, "I can't do it. I could do anything for you, J.K. Rowling, but I can't shoot these people."
Nope.
And he's like, so then Tim escapes into the tree line and he's hiding out there. And he goes, "Wait a second. I'm in the past. I could go invent pet rocks." No, but he realizes that means Lisa's still alive.
Lisa could be alive.
And his plane still exists because he's in the past. So he runs
Does
off.
That really mean that? I guess it does.
Yeah. I think they literally say that, Tim. So
I'm questioning the time travel. That's all.
Well, no, because then we see past time Tim.
That's right.
And he's pulling out on his bike, going to the market like he was. And he sees smoke from the plane crash. We know it's a little bit different. He's like, smoke.
It's a lot of smoke, too.
And he arrives at the, I guess he's not going, it's a lot of smoke because the plane must have crashed like a foot from his house. And he's, he arrives at at his little airport, and Marty's there. Is like, there's these government people looking here.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It got confusing here. You can tell we both
this is what I thought was clever. Well, I broke down because I felt I was talking too much, but I could do this. Lisa, we see she gets her assignment to cover a plane crash.
Yes, we do this again.
Past Lisa because she's still alive. But now it's different because now there's been a plane crash. So instead of going out to immediately cover the skydiving nude grandma, she checks the plane crash with the idea it maybe is the naked grandma. She's like, if nothing else, I'll be able to see a melted old naked lady. So then Time Tim from the future is walking around and he sees government guys who are just kind of standing on top of a pickup truck, and they see him and they turn around and he steals a car. And he immediately, he drives 3 feet and flips this thing over.
No, that was a lot of work for a cheap movie just to do the joke. He says, I don't drive. Which he doesn't. He always rides a bike.
No. Which I thought that was funny. And again, this movie goes for the gusto. The agents are in hot pursuit. Suddenly he's on a bike. And by a bike, I mean literally like a 10-speed.
It's a mountain bike,
the government guys are in a 10-speed. It's a mountain bike.
Mountain bikes are big in the 90s.
And
did you go? Did you mountain bike?
I did.
Okay.
I had one, even though I lived in the city. Yeah. Just that guy.
So you didn't mountain bike in the woods like I did. I
did once or twice. Yeah.
I did it.
I wasn't cool like you, Tim.
I was cool.
You went to Northern California and did that, right? In your monkey suit?
Yeah, I did.
Back in 1967? Tim, I have a pair of socks that is a Sasquatch riding a mountain bike.
Okay.
I maybe have just recently thrown away, though, because my big toe went through it. I was like, oh, these socks are dead.
One hole, you throw them away?
So, yeah,
one
man.
hole?
I hate it. Yeah, you gotta. What do you do with it when you have a hole in it? Do you darn your socks?
I wear it out. I just, eventually, they're ankle warmers. That's all they are.
I wear them. I'm going to say, I'm going to put my wife on blast. My wife does that. My wife has many socks. They're very small socks. But I think out of her, no exaggeration, I would guess she has 50 pair of small little socks. Mm-hmm. I would say no more than 5 of them don't have at least a small hole in them. And we were out the other day, and she was like, I could feel my big toe going through the hole. She got home. Tim, 3 of her toes were through this hole.
Wow.
It was just an ankle worm. Babe, gotta buy new socks.
She announced that?
When we got home. I mean, she didn't announce it to the public.
I was gonna say,
I announced it to the world at large. Hey, and Seddy Bimco listeners, if you are interested in hearing more about my wife's socks, write to us at Seddy Bimco with an E at the end at gmail.com.
No, I felt sign up for the OnlyFans. We'll tell you all about his wife's socks.
Ew. Yeah. No, that could be a real thing.
That could be.
Ew. Yep. The bike scene is like the speeder bike scene from Return of the Jedi, but super shitty.
I said that. I wrote that down.
I think it's on purpose, right?
Yes.
They did it on purpose.
It's hard to film.
And he kills one of those guys. He shoves the guy, and his head goes into a tree.
Yes.
And then Time Tim from the future rides his bike into the lake.
I don't think it went into the tree. Did you guys see Hereditary? I think that's what happened.
His head just came off. His head comes off, and then the other guy just goes, lays down in bed, and just waits for his mom to discover the headless corpse in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers for Hereditary.
Spoilers for.
So meanwhile, while this is happening, past Lisa goes to the plane crash. She's covering her own death. She doesn't realize it, and she realizes from the investigator that the plane belongs to Time Tim, but she doesn't know he's Time Tim.
No, she doesn't know who's
Tim.
in there. Because the guy's
they say the name.
It's all burnt up. Well, at first they're all burnt up. Can't tell. I have to check it out. She doesn't know until she gets a phone call about that being her. Remember?
She doesn't know it's her, but she knows it's Time Tim's plane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
And we cut to the airport where apparently Time Tim has just come back from taking Leisure Suit Larry into the past because he's doing the same spurious math about going back in time with $100, 100 years in the past.
Yes.
Gets you $6,000, which in 19...
He's obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Hey, boss.
But without, this time it's without Lisa, but did you notice that the Time Tim from the future had a hickey in his neck?
I did not notice that. Interesting.
Yeah, because Matt was kissing on him. You could tell it was his... The hickey had a little scuffle mark above from his bristly mustache.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
And then Lisa arrives then a little bit late because she had been covering the car crash. And she sees that Time Tim is alive.
Car crash and
plane crash. Yeah, plane crash. You're right. Yeah, it is a plane crash. And she's like, I just came from seeing your plane crash. He's like, no, I only have one plane. She goes, no, it's got the number N5085C. And the shot we're looking at, he's standing from his plane that says that number. She's like, huh. So they both drive to the crash, which already the cops have left, even though this happened like 45 minutes ago.
Nobody's sad.
And like they see the plane. There's like still the body there, presumably.
No yellow tape.
All right, man. So Time Tim arrives at the airport after past Tim and Lisa fly off.
Yeah.
Evil guys catch him and Marty.
She gets a phone call before this or after this?
After this.
Okay.
Because all four of them, being future Time Tim, Marty, evil boss guy, and guy with mustache, all get into the second time machine and fly back to 1977. Because the evil boss guy and mustache boy are going...
1777?
Yeah, 1777.
You said 19. So you're like, they're going back to see Star Wars. 1977.
You conditioned me through your Star Wars shit. All right.
No, they go back to 1777.
They're going to leave them in the past because they're going to complicate stuff now. And just after that happens, the past Time Tim and the past Lisa arrive back in 1991 again from their date to the future.
All right.
And Lisa calls the cop and finds that the pilot was her.
Yep.
They mash up the mental record. She goes, I'm dead.
Even worse, he says, and her underwear were dirty. She'd make sure she was wearing clean underwear.
Then he takes off her shoes. He's like, you got holes in your toes.
Yes.
And she goes, no. And then she travels back to the dawn of time and kills the first fish to crawl out of the sea and ends all life.
Yes.
Yep. Well, then, oh, man, this is a lot.
Well, no.
Then we see a bunch of fucking reenactors doing, okay.
It's revolutionary. I assume they filmed Revolutionary War reenactors. They must do that in Vermont because they do Civil War reenactments. They do.
You know how you can tell the reenactors, Tim?
They're so serious.
Doughy, pasty men.
Yes.
Some of them they have like tan lines where their watches were taken off minutes before. There's definitely at least one guy, if you look carefully, wearing sneakers. Like, this is pretty funny.
Yes. One guy's on his cell phone.
One guy's, yeah. Well, I guess actually back then that would have also been anachronistic, right?
Yes.
And at this point, my cat walked across my keyboard and the film jumped a little bit, but I don't think I missed much.
No, they run around and they trick the soldiers. You know, the evil guy tells the soldiers they are.
Well, the evil guy, J.K. Rowling, is going to kill Time Tim and Marty. But then he wants a mustache guy to do it. Mustache guy's like, I can't be part of it. So J.K. Rowling shoots mustache guy.
Yes. And Nick steals a horse. He can't drive a car, but he can steal a horse. He does stick a horse at one point.
So past Tim and Lisa appear suddenly too. So now there's 2 Tims, 3 Tims if you count my co-host, and Lisa and Marty. And there's a shootout with J.K. Rowling. And one of the Tims steals a horse from like a very, very chubby general.
He wanted to steal a giraffe, but he was tied to a telephone pole. Couldn't get him.
And he was like, I'm not getting involved. That's against the law in this state. There's a lot that happens. They leave Marty behind in the past, which I just want to mention that because that's important to my story, maybe.
Yeah.
He gets tired of running around. He's confused by all the Tims. So it's the 2 Tims, Lisa. One Tim gets the horse. He pulls the guy up. But this is what's also important for my story, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Future Tim, who has seen Lisa die already and had already had a kiss with Lisa, he reaches down and right in front of past Tim, he kisses Lisa.
Yeah.
And past Tim has this look on his face like, oh, and it's not like excitement like, oh, I guess I could kiss her because in the future we're clearly not him. You can see he feels pretty cucked. He's like, The bad guy, J.K. Rowling, gets to his time machine airplane. The future Time Tim gets there, gets punched, hops in the moving plane.
They do some Raider
yells,
stuff.
You want to fly?
Oh, yeah.
They do. It's more Raider stuff. He goes, you want to fly? Let's fly. He's holding on the wing. He's fighting.
Isn't that Batman,
the plane crashes.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I think that was Batman.
That was totally Batman. Yeah,
But they did Raider stuff where he smashes his head into the dashboard.
Well, then they do totally Jurassic Park because the plane crashes back in modern day. Yep. And he's climbing out. It's in a tree, and he wakes up, and he's all bloody, but he's okay. Time Tim. This is the future Time Tim, by the way.
Wasn't
the one
this Jurassic Park 2? Or was this 1?
No, I literally just watched it. It's Jurassic Park 1.
Really? Oh, the car. That's right.
The tree. They're climbing down the car, and like every time he's climbing down, the plane's about to fall on him and stuff. And then he gets down. He crashes on the bottom, but the plane never falls on him. And then he has such visible pit stains.
Well, come on.
So dark. Well, okay. He's been through a lot, so it makes sense. Yeah.
He had that same shirt on.
You know who? J.K. Rowling steps out, the bad guy.
Yep.
He's okay too. and he pulls out a gun and he shoots and kills future time Tim.
Yeah, shocking.
But then the plane falls on him and kills him.
Yep.
So they're all dead.
Except for the other Tim?
Yep. But that past Tim is okay.
Okay.
Yep. And past Tim, then we see a scene where past Tim, who's now the only Tim, he's in the future. The scene where after he has shown Mustache Boy this future time travel thing, he has gone and gotten his boss. And so JK arrives. And he's like, you just got to see this boss. It's going to change the world. You're going to make me a vice president. It's going to be so great. And so Tim walks up to him and he goes, here, let me show you this amazing thing. And he pulls open the hangar doors and it's the lady.
It's Grandma.
The old lady, it's the skydiving grandma. She's naked. Her breasts are droopy. Kevin Cablasto has gone over this bit over and over again. Kevin Cablasto, occasional co-host.
He has a whole blog devoted to it.
And it's called Freddy vs. Spaghetti. And then because he does this clever trick, J.K. Rowling's like, you're fired, Leisure Suit. And also, I'm a TERF. And I'm a TERF? Transgendered people.
Oh,
yeah.
A TERF.
And he goes off. Yeah. And so the events of the movie are kind of erased.
Yep. That's what happened, George.
Yep. And then we see Time Tim. He's sitting there with his floppy disk in his mouth again. And he deletes the floppy disk, the one fucking floppy disk that probably has 32 megs of memory on it. Erase all time travel. But then he bikes to the supermarket to see Lisa again. And we fade out. Well, I'm tired from talking through that, Tim.
You got to slow down. You missed like 10 of my lists.
Now we have the part of the show where Tim and George talk about how this movie is like Star Wars and Labyrinth.
Yeah.
How's it like Star Wars? Well, Star Wars, in the sequel, there's a sequel to this movie. Nick realizes he didn't entirely fix the timeline. He messed with history too much. So Nick.
Is this actually your sequel or is this?
No, I'm sorry. No, it's my Star Wars. How's like Star Wars?
Okay, this is like Star Wars. So you're making this like Star Wars by a movie that you're talking about a sequel that doesn't really exist.
I'm saying.
This is all you got.
In Star Wars. You're not letting me finish.
Yeah. Okay.
In this movie.
This is already the worst episode ever.
The sequel to Time Chasers. Nick realizes he messed with the timeline too much. And it turns out that Lisa is now his sister. There you go. That's all. If you let me get to it.
It sucks.
That still sucks. His father also embraced the dark side. Come on, mess with the timeline. Things happen.
As we go on, like even now, even the bits, like I've been giving you a hard time because your sequels have almost nothing to do with the movies anymore. You just want to talk about random shit about like Wizard of Oz. You'll make it work.
Yes.
Now even your comparisons to Star Wars have nothing to do with the movie.
Come on.
The only thing
sister.
Nothing. First, also brother, Tim.
Sister.
Tim. Yeah, you know what? Know what we don't know about Luke and Leia in Star Wars?
We find out
that they're brother and sister.
That's why I said sequel.
Yeah, we find out in the sequel. We find out in the third movie. Tim, do it over again. I'm going to tell you, this is out of control, Tim. I'm going to now say, and in fact, because you've done this, Tim, I officially call moratorium. This is the last one we'll ever do like this.
What?
Because you've strayed too far. This has nothing to do with Star Wars now.
That fits in.
No.
Write us a letter.
How is this like Labyrinth, Tim? Ask me a question. How is this like Labyrinth?
Yeah, tell me.
Because in Labyrinth, David Bowie's rocking a pretty serious mullet. And in Time Chasers, Time Tim is rocking a pretty serious mullet. See?
Nice.
Now, I actually said something that has to do with the movie.
Yeah, I say mine does too, wherever you are, wherever you're hiding. I'll find you.
Revenge.
All right, it's a sequel.
Start the music.
All right, thank you, Tim. Now, I did mention in the scene, there's the scenes that are important when both Tims, future time Tim and past time Tim, are both in 1777 watching chubby reenactors put on as a Revolutionary War thing. Future time Tim reaches down after throwing the chubby general off his horse, and he kisses past Lisa. And we do focus on past time Tim being kind of like her. Kissing her. And instead of, like I point out, instead of feeling like excited by this, like being like, oh, I guess it means I get to go with Lisa, he does feel kind of like that was kind of a dick move. Like myself really kissed the girl that I was really liking right in front of me, and like I didn't notice I looked like that when I kissed, and I feel really bad about that now. He gets really jealous of his future self.
Okay.
And he has no way of knowing what happens to future Tim. He doesn't know the future Tim crashes into a plane and gets killed by J.K. Rowling and all that stuff. He just knows that he doesn't see him again. But he's like, I know how I will eventually see future Tim. Because one day, I will be future Tim.
Yeah.
And so, Time Tim stands in front of a mirror, and he balls up his fist in rage, and he punches himself as hard as he can in the nuts.
Wow.
Because it hurts him, but you know what else is going to hurt?
Okay.
The future him to be, and he keeps doing it repeatedly. He turns his nuts into so much porridge. He mutilates himself. The amount of pain he inflicts on himself in an attempt to bring pain to future time Tim, it's unbelievable. And he has no idea of knowing future time Tim is dead in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
So he keeps doing this. And then, eventually, he feels like his revenge is sated. Unfortunately, he's done grievous injury to his crotch. Yeah. So he's like, what am I going to do with my life now? I can't create time machine. I've seen how that's going to end.
He could do it again.
I can't get it with Lisa because she wouldn't want a man whose balls are porridge. So he sits around waiting for... He's always been an early adapter of technology, this guy. He learns about this new technology called podcasting.
Okay, Jesus.
So he calls up his friend. We don't meet him in this movie, but he's a noted olive oil abuser named John Kelly. And he goes, hey, I have an idea. Let's create a podcast. We'll call it Seddy Bimco. And John Kelly goes, you mean like our old teacher, Betty Simcoe? He's like, yes. And it'll be two old men talking about teenagers. But eventually we'll change it to talking about movies. But I don't know that yet. And that's how he got revenge. Because you are him, Tim. You are Time Tim.
That story
Tim
is
just went to sleep, everybody.
Steeped deep in Seddy history.
And Seddy lore.
But answer me this.
And speaking of...
Am I still the Tim who yanked that guy off his horse onto the ground?
No, that Tim died.
Oh, good. Because I figured he broke that guy's back and then he was going to be sued. Because he just yanked him right on the ground off a horse. You know, the poor Christopher Reeve ended up in the hospital that way.
Jeez.
I'm saying that hurts. That can damage you.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? I'm glad you brought up 1777 again because there was another character, Marty, was left back in 77.
This is not over?
No, it's not over.
That's right. Marty was left there.
Marty.
I forgot.
Yeah.
They took
Very
Marty.
weird they did that.
Yes.
But Marty, this is what's weird. Marty, you don't know this. He's actually a low-grade mutant. His power is he ages very slowly. He lives for like hundreds of years. He lives into 1991. But by that point, he has aged appreciably. He's lost most of his hair. It's gone white. And he's become, by that name, he's had to take different aliases as time goes on. Mm-hmm. He becomes known as Doc Brown.
Oh.
One day, he discovers a young teenager hanging out somewhere, probably watching porn or something. And that teenager's name is Marty. And that reminds him of the boy he used to be. And that's how Back to the Future happened, too.
Now, Marty wouldn't have been watching porn in '84. You couldn't just sit around and watch it like you do today.
Yeah, they watch it on movies, like
VHS,
like movie reels. Yeah,
and Nickelodeon.
That's how he saw it. In a Nickelodeon, you put in a nickel. And he was like, "Yow, that woman's got some ankle." All right, that's my thing. Go on.
Who got revenge?
Woo! You got
not myself.
Time Tim got revenge on his future self, not knowing that his future self that kissed Lisa in front of him was already dead. And then he eventually became you.
Okay. Let's go with mine. Let's move along.
That was my best one yet.
This is going to be confusing because you know what my story? It's about a guy named Tim. Tim Hamilton. This is weird you did this.
This is weird. I think it's because you saw this guy and you're like, this guy, it's like looking in a mirror.
Well, Tim
Hamilton,
a
mulleted mirror.
Tim Hamilton, he sat down to write up a story for his podcast about Nick traveling in time in this movie. And he was going to make a bunch of jokes about how,
Is this you, Tim Hamilton, or porn star Tim Hamilton?
No, let's say it's porn star Tim Hamilton. I don't know.
Okay, wow.
Sitting there and he's half naked.
He's got his member is impressive and tumescent. Yes.
He was going to write a bunch of jokes about how his grandmother was still alive and was a skydiver who became known as the naked parachutist. I don't know why we both thought of her as naked.
We've been doing this podcast too long. We both made the grandma skydiver naked. That's creepy.
It is.
I don't like this, Tim.
But suddenly got a knock at the door. Nick from the movie showed up. He interrupted Tim from writing. He said he's been to 2041.
He has a silver dollar to prove it.
Yes. He said, I've made several attempts to come back here and warn you of something. I just wanted to tell you, don't do a list of the entire United States, movies from each state, because it's going to take you a year. It's going to wear you down, become very, very, very wearing on your nerves. And I said, well, we already did it. You're too late. And he's like, oh. I said, damn it, Janet.
Did he start punching himself in the nuts?
Yes, he started punching himself in the nuts.
Take this, future time, Tim. I mean, Nick.
I've missed again, and I've made so many mistakes. I even went back millions of years, and I thought I might see a dinosaur, but I stepped on a butterfly. And I thought, I better not do that.
Oh, no.
So he went back to 1991.
That explains why we're living in a fascist dictatorship,
Yes.
Tim. I've read The Sound of Thunder.
But he went back to 1991, and he thought everything was normal and was okay. But it turned out, and he had changed things so that now the most popular form of entertainment was snuff films. So the Lethal Weapon franchise was the Lethal Injection franchise.
Okay. Oh boy, it's a list. It's a list within a story.
The TV shows that were popular back then were Third Rock to the Head, The Wonder Tears, Boy Meets Fist,
Tears,
and Everybody Loves Razor Blades. And he just wanted to tell him that, and he got in his plane and said, well, I failed to prevent you from doing a movie from every state, and he flew off. The end. See? Nice and short.
Where was the revenge in that one?
He just wanted to stop us from doing that because he didn't like those episodes. I don't know.
That's a great segue, Tim, because we were going to talk about, now that we've completed our 50 Nifty.
It's over.
Did you want to do?
It came to a limping halt.
Did you want to do your
flopping story? I picked up and just carried across the finish line.
A significant portion of her anatomy crossed over this finish line. So, Tim, we did want to talk about what our three favorite movies from this whole experience were. Did you have a list?
It's not really a list. I was going to say the two before the one, 3 and 2.
Okay.
I was very happy and amused that North Carolina and South Carolina both have movies named after liquor. That was when we watched Moonshine Mountain and Whiskey Mountain. Yeah,
not just liquor, but mountain liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were fun. But I think my favorite was Haunted Honeymoon. I don't know if you even remember that. That was the Florida movie.
Oh, I actually just listened to that episode again because I went back to listen to ones. Why was that one your favorite one, Tim?
Because that movie was just such a mess and it's bad print. And we had the circus people, the little person who pretended to be dead in the bed. I don't know. It had a lot of fun stuff in it. It had the casual racism, brown face. Not that I love that.
You have a different idea of the stuff you like than I do.
Yes, that movie was.
You liked what is probably one of the worst movies.
Yeah. That.
Okay. Well, I went back and listened to a bunch of old episodes as much as I could, which is I ended up only being 5 or 6, but still, yeah. Because I don't have a lot of these I would look back. I'm like, I don't have memories. This is the stuff I came up with. The first one we did in our 50 Nifty was Arkansas's own, The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Is that the first?
Charles B. Pierce's. Yeah, it was. I didn't realize that either. Charles B. Pierce, the guy who did Boggy Creek. Listening to that one was super interesting, Tim, because if you listen to that, how I do all the state facts and you get super annoyed? Mm-hmm. I don't do state facts when you're doing them, and I get annoyed at you.
Oh, wow.
I start doing the state facts because you started it, and then you get annoyed at it. Additionally, that's what starts you talking about the fucking streetcars and elevators, which is another thing I start doing. Wow. So it was this weird origin story, which we weren't expecting. I couldn't believe it. I was other movies I really liked. Wait, go on.
I just say I gave you a worm brain. I gave you worm brain.
It's the reversal we did was really funny. The other movies I chose I really liked California's Roar.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the one about like the real story of the people who like it was Tippi Hedren and Melanie Griffith and this lunatic, and they had like real lions. It was just insane. It's also the only film of Seddy Bimco I've ever watched with my wife.
Nice.
But just like watching that movie was just hilarious. Tim and I are both pretty funny in the episode.
Yeah.
And the one I'm going to choose as my last of the favorites was Indiana's Beware of the Clowns.
Okay.
Because that one, yeah, I really liked that movie. It introduced us to friend of the show, Tim Wallach.
Yeah.
It made me feel happy to see how uncomfortable my co-host Tim got because it was a recent movie,
yes.
as evidenced by the fact that the filmmaker was able to find us and be in touch with us. So I really enjoyed that one. Now,
you were confused about that
would
one.
I ever do this again?
I knew how to correct your confusion, but now I don't remember what your confusion was about. So go ahead.
I was confused about something about Beware the Clowns.
Well, yeah, like that the clowns were evil, but there were a phobia about clowns.
There was there was a story problem where like it was a town where clowns had committed murders, and you're left open. Like, are clowns something you could choose to be or not choose to be?
I think I took it as almost a type of humor from like the movie Airplane. That kind of ludicrous humor is like, yeah, there's clowns here, and we're racist against clowns. I think that's all it was. It was just meant to be funny.
Yeah,
I think.
Tim Wallach, if you're listening, we'll have you on. You could discuss at length what was the metaphor of killer clowns. So now we have completed the 50 Nifty. And before we move on to the next theme, which Tim is going to choose the next 3 teams because I made a grievous error.
I'm not going to make any
this.
for a while, so don't worry.
We did agree on one last film, a denouement, if you will, where we will, when I made the original list of all the different states and territories, because we did more than 50. We also did like Guam and Washington, D.C., U.S. Virgin Islands. Yes, thank you, Cablasto. Thank you, Cablasto, for filling in for like a fourth of these.
George said he couldn't understand what happened in that movie, but
sure couldn't.
We couldn't either. You
did not do a good job. That was like I was lost without a map. But one of the things I put on the original list as a joke at first was England as the dried husk that America emerged from.
Yes.
But after a little while, I realized that there was a movie I wanted to choose for that. And this is going to be
Can I guess?
Yes, I want to hear your guess, actually.
Life Force? No.
Oh, that would have been good, Tim.
Superman 3?
Tim. Life Force is the one where like it's that naked space vampire, right?
Yep. That's famous for that.
Yeah,
Patrick Stewart.
No, Tim, the movie. I will be honest, it was going to be another movie for a while, but the movie I have ultimately decided we're going to watch for the next episode of Seddy Bimco is 1986's own Labyrinth.
That was filmed there?
in England. Yep.
So you're admitting it's not that good of a movie?
No, because folks, Tim has been scornful of Labyrinth this entire time. He talks incessantly about Star Wars. Yeah, so now you have to.
All right.
Because our capper to this is going to be Labyrinth.
I tried once.
Jim Henson. Yep.
The plot fell apart right away. Like, what? What's going on?
How dare you? How dare you? You just chose fucking Haunted Honeymoon.
I'm excited.
Can I tell you? I'll throw this out just to keep it off like the thing. But like, you know what I was going to suggest for the longest time?
What?
Star Wars.
Well, it's a good movie.
I know. Well, that's the thing. Sometimes we do good movies. Chud's a good movie too. But what I want to do is Star Wars, and I think we should maybe do this in the future. But I thought it would be like if me sprang it on you, you'd be like, what? Like, what if we did Star Wars where we tell it Seddy Bimco style, and then we create a sequel, like if we had no idea what the actual sequels to Star Wars were. Like The Revenge.
Yeah.
Be an idea for a future episode. But yes. All right, Tim. Did we get any mail, Tim?
George, we got mail.
What? Let's hear it.
George, we got mail. Remember, was it 2 weeks ago?
We
reviewed Don't Let the River Beast Get You.
Yes.
So this letter is, hey guys, this is Matt Farley, producer, co-writer, and star of
Wait.
Don't Let the River Beast Get You.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
How have you not told me this?
Because I want to hear your actual response here on the air.
Oh my God.
No spoilers.
I love it. I'm so excited.
It was an honor. It was okay. It was an honor to hear you both discuss the movie in such detail on your latest episode. It was especially funny to hear your occasional struggles to keep the convoluted plot straight. The sequel ideas were fun. Here's a playlist to some of my best songs. They're not all about poop. And he put a link here. I'll put the link on the River Beast episode on our website and
that's
YouTube.
A great idea, Tim.
And says Matt, and his website is moternmedia.com, spelled MOTERN media. So I'll put I'll put these links on our website.
That's super exciting. How long ago did we get this email, Tim?
Well, it says 11 hours ago. I sent it.
Wow, that's very exciting. First off, props to you for keeping that secret because I would explode with glee. Like that's really Matt. Thank you very much.
I almost told
that's
you.
Very exciting. I know. Boy, that's.
I called my wife.
Stuff,
I said,
Tim.
"Guess what happened? Should I tell George?" She's like, "No."
No.
She slapped the phone out of my hand.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for writing in, Matt.
That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed our strange take on your delightful film.
And again,
that was one that yeah.
Oh, I did send a note to him. I just said thanks for listening. I want to say to him here in the air, like we usually look at old movies, laugh at how they're dated. So hope he didn't mind. We were just laughing at his film. Wasn't not shitting on it. You know, he made a movie. Hard to make a movie. So.
Yep. Oh, I think he knew what he was doing with that movie.
Yeah.
Like that.
But
that movie was.
I kind of wrote that to him and said, "Hope you weren't offended." And he said, "It's very difficult to insult me. I thought you treated the movie quite fairly." So
nice. I seem to recall me saying I was quite a big fan of that movie. So I think he likes me better than you.
He probably does. I'll say that.
Matt, if that's true, please write to us and confirm it. Seddy Bimco with an E at the end at gmail.com. Thank you so much. That's exciting. This is what we do it for.
That was more exciting than episode 150, and that's hard. That's hard to achieve.
Yeah. That was our worst movie ever. So, yeah, unbelievable. What a garbage movie.
It gets lots of hits, George. Come on.
I know, you do say that. It's weird. That's exciting. I'm very excited about that, Tim. Thank you for sharing.
Woohoo.
So
be here next week, I guess. So
next week for Labyrinth, where we will make a sequel to the David Bowie, Jim Henson, Jennifer Connelly masterpiece.
Yay. Be safe.
Yay, balls.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Bye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line. It's a party line.
That one, because you like to do the thing where you do skip a lot of stuff out, but this movie, because it's time travel, I feel like we had to get the bits in there.
Yeah.
Because you were like, you would be like, yeah, he goes back in time, he shows the future, he pulls the general off the horse,
People have seen
and then he eats ice cream. I'm like, what is going? No, nobody sees these movies.
This is a famous one.